An original. This is actually one of my friends, and it's one of my favorites that I like to sing. It's called Parts of the Sage. The ringling of the horses is the start of a brand new day. Smell the bacon and coffee with a hint of leather and sage. The days are getting shorter, so we pull our saddles up tight. Someone grab this pony's head and turn us both outside. They call us fallen angels, pirates of the sage, but we ain't nothing but cowgirls, and we'll be till our dying day. Some folks say we're crazy for living a cowboy's life. No one said it'd be easy. Words heard from a cowboy's wife. But we believe in a higher power when we climb aboard our mounds. And if you don't think I'm right with us, then take a good look around. They call us fallen angels, pirates of the sage, but we ain't nothing but cowgirls, and we'll be till our dying day. So boys, let's circle our horses and spend a moment in time for the ones that came before us and the ones that'll come behind. May our saddles all ride easy and the trail be straight and true. But if tomorrow this all should end, heaven needs fallen angels too. They call us fallen angels, pirates of the sage, but we ain't nothing but cowboys, and we'll be till our dying day. Yes, they call us fallen angels, pirates of the sage, but we ain't nothing but cowgirls, and we'll be till we ride away. Be till our dying day. Be till we ride away. Thank you all. This next one is called The Warriors. Hear the cry of an eagle as he soars across the sky and stares at the lands below where many men have fought and died. A war horse wanders aimless around these deserts wide. His rider's empty rifle is hanging on his side. In the wind of the whispering voices, hear the echo of the guns, where the land should be silent and where the dead lay in the sun. The eagles circle slowly, the coyotes are closing in. So many souls have vanished. Tell me, when will this battle end? 'Cause the red men and the white men are both warriors just the same. They hunt and they fight and defend their family name. ancestors' history is like gold to those who listen. The past is in the past, but their stories are just beginning. Fathers and sons who died in the battles, their families are seeking vengeance for the loss of their loved ones. The red men and the white men, they can't see eye to eye when their arrows, bolts, and vengeance destroys the peace on both sides. But the red men and the white men are both warriors just the same. They hunt and they fight and defend their family names. Their ancestors' history is like gold to those who listen. The past is in the past, but the stories are just beginning. Thank you all.
You know, guys, Phoebe all evening's been talking about how badly she wants to go to Texas Roadhouse after this. So if you guys aren't going to go, I know someone who will take it. I've been riding and working on a lot of ranches, and I'm still yet to come across a bear, but I learned all these poems about roping a bear, but I'm determined that one day I'm going to be able to tell my own bear roping story. The Bear's Tale by Sonny Hancock. Well, I was working up in the Sycam Black Hills camp, a-working for the old Z-Cross. This was my own piece of country. I was cook, crew, and boss. And as I recall, the afternoon of that year was a-comin' around, which meant summer'd hit the Cap Rock and slid right down into fall. Well, the days was warm and pleasant, though the nights were kinda sharp, but I had a snug little cabin to keep the cold wind off my tarp. The aspen leaves were a-turning yellow, and the bees were a-buzzing around the hive, and it was just one of them days when it was great to be alive. Well, I'd been just kinda riding along that morning, looking out beneath my hat, figured I'd make a little circle down through Silver Dollar Flat, and maybe brand some big slick yearling with the address of this farm, 'cause I sure did need to limber up my stiff old roping arm. And I'd been just kinda traveling through this little open draw when I came around a corner, and I was amazed at what I saw. I pulled my horse up and sat there a-gawking. My eyes went plumb agog, 'cause there's a big old brindle he-bear sitting there digging ants out of a log. Well, my heart commenced a-pounding, and I couldn't quite get enough air, 'cause I knew I'd never have a better chance to rope myself a bear. Well, I was trying to get my rope jerked down, but my horse began to dance. But old Bruin hadn't seen me. He's still a-busy digging ants. So I got my rope tied hard and solid, and I said a little prayer. Then I let out a big old cowboy war whoop and built right into that bear. Well, the beast heard me a-comin', and he beat it for the trees. There weren't no moss a-growing on him, and he sure did split the breeze. But I fell right in behind him, and just as that Bible story told, I cast my bread upon the water, and it came back 1,000-fold. I pitched my slack right at him, and turned my pony neat, and I heard him grunt as he hit the ground, and I jerked him off his feet. Then I towed him towards the timber, just the way it should be done. Hell, there ain't nothing to it. Roping bears is lots of fun. Then in the timber I got busy, dodging limbs and brush and such, and I ain't had time to check up on my cargo very much. I'm gonna start by breaking him to lead, or at least that's what I hoped. Then I look back and hear that bear come, hand over hand, right up my rope. Well, things sure started looking different, so I tells him, okay, Bruin, I'll start paying more attention to this little job I'm doing. I'll just zig and zag and circle some. Now you just follow me, 'cause you're about to meet your maker on some big old jack pine tree. Well, I zigged and zagged and circled, but it seemed to no avail. And next time I checked, old Teddy's right up behind my horse's tail. And about that time, my horse made a funny little jump, and that bear commenced to climbing up my rope across my horse's rump. Well, I yelled and squalled and waved my hat to slap him in the eyes, but that old bear's plumb determined he's gonna come right up where I'm at. Now you know I've knowed lots of people on the hills and plains, but no one ever told me that I was overblessed with brains. But it didn't take no Einstein with no special high IQ, nor no call from God to tell me just what that bear was gonna do. Now I know a coward's way out's a bad one in almost anybody's book, but that's the only route left open now, so that's the one I took. I just bailed off and checked it to him, and a big old rock broke my fall. Well, boys, I said, it looks like to me you just bought it all. As they went a-crashing through the timber, why, I realized, of course, that I'd just lost a darn good saddle, and in the company lost a horse. Now how's a man supposed to tell it when the boss is a-standing there? You just took a plumb good horse and saddle and gave 'em to a bear? Well, these thoughts and lots more like 'em went a-running through my mind as I went limping down the cow trail, trying to leave that wreck behind. My clothes was sort of tattered, and I'd lost some chunks of hide, but my body wasn't hurting, near as bad was my pride. Then I heard a sound back behind me, and it began to swell, back the way I'd just come from. And I wondered, now what the hell? Then I looked back and I see my horse a-comin', stepping lively down the slope, and that old bear's up in my saddle, got a loop built, a-swingin' my rope. Thank you. This is a classic that some of you may know, written by Curly Flesher, called Strawberry Roan. I was hanging around town, just a-spending my time, out of a job, not earning a dime, when a feller steps up and says, I suppose you're a bronc fighter by the looks of your clothes. Well, you figures me right, a good one I claim. Do you happen to have any bad ones to tame? He said, I've got one. He's a bad one to buck, and for throwing good riders, he's had lots of luck. Well, I get all head up and ask what he pays to ride this old nag for a couple of days. He offers me 10. I say, I'm your man. A bronc never lived that I couldn't span. He said, get your saddle, I'll give you a chance. In his buckboard we hopped, and he drives to the ranch. I stays till morning, then right after Chuck, I steps out to see if this old outlaw can buck. Down in the horse corral, standing alone, is an old caballo, a strawberry roan. His legs are all spavined, and he's got pigeon toes, little pig eyes, and a big Roman nose, little pin ears that touch at the tip, and a big 44 brand was on his left hip. Ewe-neck and old, with a long lower jaw, I could see with one eye he was a regular outlaw. I get the blinds on him, it's a heck of a fright. Next comes the saddle, I screws her down tight. Then I steps up on him and raises the blinds. Get out of the way, boys, he's gonna unwind. He sure is a frog walker, he heaves a big sigh. He only lacks wings for to be on the fly. He turns his old belly right up to the sun. What a sun-fishing son of a gun. He's about the worst bucker I've seen on the range. He'll turn on a nickel and give you some change. He goes up on all fours and comes down on hinds, leaves me a-spinning up in the sky. I turns over twice and comes back to earth, lights in the cussin' the day of his birth. I now know that there are some ponies that I cannot ride. There's still some left, they haven't all died. But I'll bet all my money that there ain't a man alive that could stay with old Strawberry when he makes his high dive. Thank you.
This song's called Yodeling Blues. Oh, yodelay, yodelay, out the blues. Yodelay, yodelay, it's for you. Yodelay, yodelay, and sweet slow home avenue. Oh, yodelay, yodelay, gotta go. Yodelay, yodelay, don't you know? Yodelay, yodelay, and sing yodelay, hey blues. Way up in New York City, they talk a different style. Still busy making money, ain't got time to smile. It was the dog on credit, we felt so hemmed in there. We came back home to Texas to get up right there. Oh, yodelay, yodelay, got the blues. Yodelay, yodelay, it's for you. Yodelay, yodelay, it's the home avenue. Oh, yodelay, yodelay, gotta go. Yodelay, yodelay, don't you know? Yodelay, yodelay, it's the yodelay blues. Down in the valley, you'll hear me when the lights are low. Down in the valley, you'll hear my yodelay blues. Oh, we're so lonesome, we don't know what to do. I guess we're sentimental, feeling the way we do. Oh, yodelay, yodelay, gotta go. Yodelay, yodelay, don't you know? Yodelay, yodelay, and sing yodelay, hey blues. Oh, yodelay, yodelay, gotta go. Yodelay, yodelay, don't you know? Yodelay, yodelay, and sing yodelay blues. Thank you. This song's called Rawhide. Rolling, 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 rolling. Though the streams are swollen, keep them doggies rolling. Rawhide. Oh, through rain and wind and weather, helping for leather, wishing my guy was by my side. Well, all the things I'm missing, good pillows, loving kiss, be waiting at the end of my ride. Move 'em on, head 'em up, head 'em up, move 'em on, head 'em up, head 'em up, rawhide. Cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, cut 'em out, ride 'em in, rawhide. Moving, 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 know that this is grooving, keep them doggies moving, rawhide. Well, don't try to understand them, just rope 'em, sign them, brand them. Soon we'll be living high and wide. My heart is calculating, my true love will be waiting at the end of my ride. Move 'em on, head 'em up, head 'em up, move 'em on, head 'em up, ride. Cut 'em out, ride 'em in, cut 'em out, cut 'em out. Ride 'em in, ride. Ride 'em in, ride. Ride 'em in, ride. Thank you so much. Well, this song is done by one of my friends, and it's called We Rob Trains. Cowboys and outlaws and long shiny rails, the background stories for Grandpappy's tales. Places like Tucson and Old Santa Fe, Cheyenne, Wyoming during rodeo days. I'd sit there for hours, perched on his knee, and ride just as far as his memory could see, with Billy the Kid and the one Jesse James, railroading outlaws who robbed lots of trains. Let me tell you a story about Billy the Kid, the one Jesse James, and the things that we did. I knew them well, darling, just like my own name. Billy and Jesse and me, we robbed trains. But a girl doesn't stay stubborn all of her life, and she starts to wonder what's true and what's lies. But respect makes her listen to an old man's refrain about a wild bunch of cowboys and some make-believe trains. Let me tell you a story about Billy the Kid, the one Jesse James, and the things that we did. I knew them well, darling, just like my own name. Billy and Jesse and me, we robbed trains. The funeral was family, as funeral should be, except for two cowboys no one else could see, and they were gone just as quick as they came. Billy and Jesse robbed one more train. Let me tell you a story about Billy the Kid, the one Jesse James, and things that we did. I knew them well, darling, just like my own name. Billy and Jesse and me, we robbed trains. Let me tell you a story about Billy the Kid, the one Jesse James, and things that we did. I knew them well, darling, just like my own name. Billy and Jesse and me, we robbed trains. We robbed trains. Thank you all. This next one was the very first song that I wrote, and it is called, well, actually this is the first one I co-wrote, and it's called You Got Silver Screen Cowboys. Silver Screen Cowboys, the good guys, the bad guys, Gene, Roy, and Dell, and old Lily Bell. Hop along, Cassidy's movies still get to me. Oh, how I love the stories they tell. Alfred C. Ebony and the Great Train Robbery started things off back in 1903. William S. Hart shortest part to bring us our ancestors' great history. The silver screen cowboys, the good guys, the bad guys, Gene, Roy, and Dal, and old Nellie Bell. Hop along, guess today's movies still get to me. Oh, how I love the stories they tell. John Wayne, a true grit, not 1 ounce of quit. He rode through the wind and the rain with the reins in his teeth and his eyes set like steel. He raised up his rifle and aimed. Silver screen cowboys, good guys, the bad guys, Gene, Roy, and Dal, and old Nellie Bell. Hop along, guess the days movies still get to me. Oh, how I love the stories they tell. The Lone Ranger and Tonto bring us all into the world where we can still tell wrong from right. The good guys are good, and those bad guys are bad. It's all there in plain black and white. Silver screen cowboys, the good guys, the bad guys, Gene, Roy, and Dal, and old Nellie Bell. Hop along, guess the days movies still get to me. Oh, how I love the stories they tell. Oh, how I love the stories they tell. Good job.
So my mom was mad at me on the drive over here, and so she threw a Dr. Pepper, and it hit me in the head, but I'm okay. It was a soft drink. This is another Sonny Hancock poem, and with my grandpa being a horse trader, I'm sure he had a couple incidents like this too. The horse trade. Well, I traded for a horse one time. He wouldn't take no beauty prize, just a great big, long-eared blue roan gelding. Not too bad for weight or size. Well, I had to make some tough old circles, but this trader guaranteed he'd show me lots of country and not need too much rest or feed. He said, now this here ain't no kid's horse, but he'll pack you up the creek. He will bump up on some occasions, and he has been known to kick. Well, I wouldn't trade this horse to just anyone without having some kind of remorse. But mister, if you're sure enough a cowpuncher, he's your kind of horse. Well, I stepped up on him the next morning, and he began to buck and bawl. That trader maybe hadn't lied none, but he sure hadn't told it all. 'Cause we sure tore up the country where he threw that equine fit, and I was running out of handholds by the time he finally quit. And this must have just set the pattern. It never seemed to change, although he showed me lots of country, every corner of the range. But every time I'd ride that booger, he'd keep me sitting tight, and I knew I'd make at least 3 bronc rides before he'd pack me home that night, which would have been okay with most of the horses that I'd knowed, but this old pony had my number. I just barely got him rode. And the thing that really spooked me and put a damper on my pride was he was learning how to buck faster than I was learning how to ride. Well, I pulled into camp one evening, and it was getting kind of late, and I saw this old gray horse in the corral and a saddle by the gate. Well, I looked that gray horse over, and I liked what I'd seen. Then this kid showed up around the barn. He must have been about 16. He said he'd lamed that gray that morning, coming down off the granite grade, and was wondering if I had a horse that I'd maybe like to trade. He said he didn't have time to stop and let him rest and heal. And well, since beggars can't be choosers, he'd make most any kind of deal. And why, when a feller's trading, most anything is fair. So I traded him that blue roan for his gray horse right then and there. But then my conscience got to hurtin' after I thought of what I'd done. To trade some fly-blown dink like that off on some little wet-nosed kid. So the next morning after breakfast, I says, if you want to know the truth, that trade you made last night was bad. That blue roan's a tough one, bad as anyone you'll ever see. He'll kick you, strike you, stampede. He's a sorry S.O.B. It's all I can do to ride him, and I'll tell it to you straight. You'd be awfully lucky just to make it past the gate. Now there's 2 or 3 old horses out there in the saddle bunch. They ain't got much going for 'em, but I kinda got a hunch. They'll probably get you where you're going if you just don't crowd 'em none. But dang, I hate to see you ride that blue roan booger, son. He said, I told you there last night I'd make most any kind of trade, but I appreciate you telling me what a bad mistake I made, and why my old daddy always taught me that when you're trading, no matter how you feel, even if you take a whipping, that a deal is still a deal. Now you say that horse has lots of travel and ain't too bad for speed. Well, I'm kinda in a tight, and that's exactly what I need. I traded for him fair and square, and danged his blue roan hide. When I pull out of here this morning, that's the horse I'm gonna ride. Well, I watched him cinch up his saddle, and he pulled his hat way down low, stepped up into his rigging like he's heading straight for town, stuck both spurs up in his shoulders, and got the blue roan hair a-flying, and tipped his head straight back, and screamed like a hungry mountain lion. Now you know I've heard lots of stories about the bucking horse ballet. I've heard of poetry in motion, but the ride I saw that day just plumb completely defied description, though I can see it plain, like it happened in slow motion, and was branded on my brain. I don't think I could describe it to you, even if I tried. The only thing I can say is by the saints, that kid could ride. He sat there plumb relaxed, like he was lying home in bed, and every jump that pony made, that kid was half a jump ahead. When it was all over, I decided I could still learn a few things, so I said, I'm sorry I misjudged your riding skill. He just said, shucks, mister, that's okay, as he started on his way, then looked back and said, but if you think this horse can buck, don't put your saddle on that gray. Thank you. Well, I go to public school, and school got out here a couple weeks ago, and it's been really nice that I've been able to go ride and help ranches. And a friend of mine probably heard me complain enough, so he wrote this poem for me, Cowboy Education. It seems like only yesterday school was out for the summer. Well, now it's the first day of fall semester. What a bummer. As I step up onto the school bus, I can't help but stare at the corrals. I just wave goodbye to my horse as he swats flies with his tail. My best cowdog, who's been with me each and every day, tucks his tail and turns his head. He doesn't understand why I have to go away. Scattered out across the pasture, the cattle are starting to graze. They have no idea that I'll be gone for so many days. Even though they were a little stirred up back at branding time, with a little effort and feed, they're right back to friends of mine. In class, I stare at my books, but I'm really thinking of the ranch, of my cows, horses, the warm sunshine, I look out the window, hoping for a glance. Just a quick glance, that's all I need. Oh, I want to be horseback, checking waters and putting out feed. My teacher says, snap out of it. You'll never make graduation. I just smile, tip my hat, and say, ma'am, it seems that school is interfering with my cowboy education.
Nice.
Thank you, guys.
This song's called I'm Gonna Round Up My Blues. I'm gonna round up my blues and try to lose all my troubles and woe. I'm gonna brand them one by one, start them on the run, down the trail, watch them go. I'm gonna round up my joy and all the boys chase all Mercy Blues today. Say we ride for miles, rounding up stray smiles, driving the blues away. I'm gonna round up my blues and try to lose all my troubles and woe. I'm gonna brand them one by one, start them on the run, down the trail, watch them go. I'm gonna round up my joy and all the boys chase all Mercy Blues today. Say we ride for miles, rounding up stray miles, driving our blues away. Say we ride for miles, rounding up stray miles, driving our blues away. Woo! I went down to Texas, got myself a bay, got myself a big man to help along the way. I'm a cowgirl now, I'm a cowgirl now. Learn to make a lasso, learn to work a range. Now I'm riding down the trail, bandana around my face. I'm a cowgirl now, I'm a cowgirl now. Ride on the prairie, move the herd along. Get in bed down tonight and sing my cowgirl song. I got low, got low, got low to do. Got low, got low to, got low. Sun shines in the noon now, rain falls when it may. I just keep on growing on my trusty bay. I'm a cowgirl now, I'm a cowgirl now. Don't know how I ever sleep indoors. Life is so much better out underneath the stars. I got low, got low, got low to do. Got low, got low, got low to, got low. Ride out on the prairie, move the herd along. Getting better down tonight and sing my cowgirl song. I got low, got low, got low to do. Got low, got low, got low to, got low. Thank you so much. It's it?
Yeah, I think so. Right, Mike, would you like to come close us?
Hey, you guys do whatever you want to do, and we'll wrap it up. So I don't have any wisdom to close.
Yeah, we get one last thing. Yeah, we can do just one last song and stuff. You go first. Okay. This is one called Ride More, Worry Less. Sunrise on the trail, my cares just drift away. It's just the sounds of the morning to start a brand new day. Write more, worry less. You gotta put that stress to rest. Write more, worry less. Just you, your horse, and the West. Leave that phone down at the stable, right there with the tack. Whatever it might want, will hold till you get back. Write more, worry less. You gotta put that stress to rest. Write more, worry less. Just you, your horse, and the West. Thank you all.
This is the poem the first ever poem I learned back in kindergarten for our school declamation, and my mom wrote it for me. My papa's hat and boots. This is my papa's hat. It's filled with thoughts of simpler days, thoughts of a good man who lived his life for his family and friends, and had a love for chasing wild cows, horses, and burros, clear skies and wide open spaces. These are my papa's boots. If they could talk, they would tell of horses, the good ones and bad ones, the ones that could really buck, and the ones that will never be forgotten. They would tell of big pack trips and brandings, or maybe of doctoring sick animals. They wouldn't speak of bars or dance halls, but of time spent on a horse's back in the simple company of a dog or two. Someday I hope to fill this hat and these boots, and I pray that my steps on this earth are soft, and that I never let my head get too big. So Papa, while you're up there in heaven, looking down, I hope I make you proud. Thank you.
This is a song. I think you all know it. Happy Trails. So if you do, sing along. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again.